April 2026. 5 games, 0 goals, 11 goals conceded.
Shocking night for Chelsea Football Club. They are getting worse.
Chelsea Football Club have not scored a single goal in over a month. And the last time that happened, 1912, the same year the Titanic sank.
In 114 years, this is the first time Chelsea Football Club have went 5 games in a row, losing 5 and not scoring a goal.
You genuinely cannot make this up. This is not a story about one bad season. This is not about injuries or bad luck or a rough patch. This is the story of how one of the most famous football clubs on the planet spent over £1 billion on players and ended up worse than when they started. This is how Chelsea broke themselves.
What has happened to Chelsea?
Let us go back to May 2022. Roman Abramovich is gone, frozen out by sanctions, his money locked away. The club sold in a rush for £4.25 billion to an American businessman named Todd Boehly. The football world was excited. New money, new ambition, a fresh start. What nobody realized was that the spending that was coming would not just be ambitious, it would be reckless on a scale football had never seen before. In the 3 years that followed, Chelsea spent over £1 billion on players. £1 billion. They signed teenagers on massive contracts. They brought in players nobody had heard of. They recycled squads faster than most clubs changed their training kits. Mykhailo Mudryk, €100 million. Still waiting for him to remember he is a professional footballer. Christopher Nkunku, $52 million. Spent more time in the medical room than on the pitch. Moises Caicedo, $115 million. The most expensive midfielder in Premier League history at the time. And still, Chelsea could not put together a consistent run of form. But here's what makes this story truly frightening. It was not just bad football decisions, it was the financial structure underneath all of it. Chelsea recently posted a pre-tax loss of £262 million for the year ending June 2025. £262 million in a single year. Their parent company, the group that owns the whole operation, lost £700 million. £700 million. That is not a football club losing money, that is a financial earthquake. Now here's how they tried to hide it. Chelsea discovered a trick, a very clever, very controversial trick. They started giving players extremely long contracts. 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. Why? Because in football accounting, the cost of a player is spread across their entire contract. So if you pay $100 million for a player on a 5-year deal, you only record $20 million per year on your books. Sign the same player on a 7-year deal, you only record $14 million per year. Suddenly on paper, your losses look much smaller. The Premier League eventually caught on and changed the rules, but by then Chelsea had already used this strategy to sign player after player after player. The bill was always going to come due, and now it has. Back to April 2026. Chelsea sits 7th in the Premier League, 7 points behind 5th place with 4 games to go. Champions League football next season is basically gone, and the man standing on the touchline trying to hold everything together is Liam Rosenior, a manager who was coaching in the Championship not long ago, a man who even Rosenior himself would probably admit has no business managing one of the biggest clubs in world football right now. After the 3-0 defeat to Brighton last week, he stood in front of the cameras and said the performance was unacceptable in every aspect of the game.
Talk about tactics. Tactics come after the basics. Having more courage to play, winning duels, winning headers, tackles, conceding terrible goals. That was an unacceptable performance tonight.
He questioned his players' desire, their professionalism, their standards.
There is a lack of spirit, a lack of belief that can create that perspective that makes it look a certain way. And I can't argue with that at the moment because the run we're on is unacceptable, and that performance definitely was as well.
Chelsea fans in the away end were chanting for him to be sacked during the game itself. Brighton fans were cheering for him to stay. That right there tells you everything. And here's the thing about Rosenior that nobody wants to say out loud. He was not brought in because he was the best available manager.
My information is that Chelsea will appoint a new permanent head coach in a matter of days. And I was asking the question, is it going to be Liam Rosenior? Everyone expects it to be Liam Rosenior.
He was brought in because he was an internal appointment from Strasbourg, another club owned by the same ownership group. He was affordable. He was controllable. He was safe. He was exactly what a club drowning in financial losses needed, not a Jose Mourinho type demanding transfer funds and throwing press conference grenades. A company man who would work within the budget. The problem is that company men do not win Premier League titles. And they definitely do not inspire squads full of overpaid, underperforming players to suddenly rediscover their hunger. Now let us talk about the players, because this is where the story gets truly painful. Chelsea currently have Cole Palmer, Estevao, and Joao Pedro all injured at the same time. That is their 3 most important attacking players, all out, all at once. And without those 3, Chelsea have 11 goals conceded, 0 scored, 5 defeats in a row. What that tells you is something very uncomfortable. This squad has no depth, none. For all the money spent, for all the signings made, the moment you remove 2 or 3 key players from this Chelsea team, they collapse completely. £1.2 billion spent, and you are 1 injury crisis away from not being able to score against Brighton. So what happens next? This summer is going to be the most important transfer window in Chelsea's recent history. They need to sell significantly. Players like Nicholas Jackson, Axel Disasi, and others are all expected to leave, not because the club wants them gone necessarily, but because Chelsea need the money, because PSR rules are tightening, because they cannot keep bleeding £260 million a year. There's a real danger here that Chelsea become what football people call a sell-to-buy club, a club that can only spend money on new players if they first sell the ones they already have. Chelsea, a sell-to-buy club. The same Chelsea that once signed Fernando Torres for £50 million in a single January window just to show the world they could. How far they have fallen. And the truly terrifying part for Chelsea fans? Missing the Champions League next season does not just hurt the pride, it destroys the finances. Champions League participation brings in anywhere between £70 and £100 million per season in broadcast and prize money alone. Without that income, the losses get worse. The financial pressure increases. The ability to attract top players shrinks. It becomes a spiral. Miss the Champions League, lose money. Squad gets weaker, miss the Champions League again. Chelsea are 1 bad season away from entering that spiral. And right now, they are already in it. There is a version of this story where it all works out, where the young players develop, where Estevao becomes the generational talent everyone says he will be, where the financial structure stabilizes, where a proper manager comes in and organizes this talented but fragmented squad into something coherent. That version of the story is possible, but it requires everything to go right, simultaneously, for multiple seasons in a row, and nothing at Chelsea right now is going right. 5 games without a goal, £262 million lost in a single year, 7th in the Premier League. A manager being jeered by his own fans, a squad that cost over £1 billion and cannot beat Brighton. This is Chelsea Football Club in April 2026, not a crisis incoming, a crisis already here. The only question left is this: how much deeper does it go before someone finally stops it? Chelsea fans, be honest in the comments. Do you trust this ownership to fix it? Subscribe and hit the bell icon. Peace.